For this PowerPoint, I'm going to go over community as a client, assessment and analysis. And this is actually what you're going to be doing as one of the assignments for this course. Okay, so now, what is a community? A community is a social group determined by geographic boundaries and/or common values and interests. Its members know and interact with one another. It functions within a particular social structure and exhibits and creates norms, values, and social institutions. Key features of a family or a community are the people, which are members or residents, the place, which can be geographic or time, and the function. The function consists of activities of the community within the community. Some examples of communities are neighborhood communities. These are communities in which you live and is a part of a neighborhood community or a face-to-face community. The populations in these communities tend to communicate and face problems with each other in person. Communities of identifiable need is a community where the population has the same need. Community of a problem of ecology is when people come together to tackle a problem of the environment. You could have a community of political jurisdiction, and this is a group that comes together for a political issue within the community, whether it be regional, national, or local, and it brings people together for a common purpose. The other types of community are community of solution, and this is where people come together to propose fixes for problems, whether they be health or environmental. As you can see, communities can be considered as different things. In this course, we will be focusing mostly on community as a geographic area that includes groups or subpopulations within that area. How would you describe your community? Well, you want to describe it within the dimensions, and that consists of people, population, demographics, informal and formal groups, linking structures and organizations. With regard to place, you're going to have geopolitical boundaries, the history, how that particular community developed, the transportation within that community, the physical environment that actually makes up the community. With regards to function, you're going to have, what production is within that community, how are the natural resources or imported resources consumed, the socialization of that community. Does it have many neighborhoods? Does it consist of only one neighborhood? How do they police in that community? What type of aid do they have, or do they provide mutual aid with regards to fire and that type of. So what is the difference between a community and a population? A community is a group of people who share something in common, who interact with one another, and who may exhibit a commitment with one another. Whereas a population, an aggregate, is a group of people who have at least one thing in common and who may or may not interact with each other. For instance, you have a population in the state of Florida. All those people live in Florida, but they don't necessarily interact with each other. And you can have a community in a facility, like, for instance, the hospital where you work is considered a community because the people that work there all interact with each other. Okay, let me talk about community health. The definition of community health is the meeting of collective needs by identifying problems and managing behaviors within the community itself, and between the community and the larger society. We can refer to community health by looking at status, structure, and process. When we look at status, we're looking at the biological indicators such as vital statistics, incidence and prevalence of diseases, and health risk profiles. When we talk about structure, we're referring to the actual services and resources available in the community, what programs are funded, availability of nursing homes, physicians, health services, social measures of health. For example, if a community has a high number of white-collar businesses, it may have higher paying jobs and attract a younger population than a community where all the businesses have closed and has a higher population of older residents who by nature have greater health challenges, so they tax the health system a little more. The younger community would have good insurance coverage, plenty of money, and basically they're younger, so they're healthier. When we talk about process, we're addressing the groups and organizations within the community. How do they problem solve? Do they have a good sense of self? How do they deal with conflict? How do they deal with the larger society? This will give the nurse an indication of how the starting point within the community and what experiences can be drawn upon to resolve new health issues. Okay, now, when we talk about the community, we certainly have to talk about partnerships. True partnerships have shared power among the professional persons, nursing and otherwise, and the lay persons in the community. In your textbook, there's a wonderful box on page 403 where you will see characteristics of successful partnerships, and they include being informed, flexibility, and negotiation. The nurse must recognize that as the process moves along within the partnership, the community gains more independence in handling the problem. It is important to foster this empowerment and begin to conclude the relationship. Such empowerment will be needed for the community to address its next identified problem. So let's talk about what's needed for successful partnerships. When talking about informed, we're talking about perceptions, rights, and responsibilities. When we're talking about that they have to be flexible, this involves a kind of give and take of ideas. The health professional may know more about interventions and have particular skills, yet the lay people probably understand their problem and the community better. With regards to negotiate, there's going to be power that should be negotiated along the process. Such community partnerships are recognized as necessary by Healthy People 2020 and are the focus of successful frameworks to community assessment. Some examples of partnerships are MAP, M-A-P-P, Mobilizing for Action Through Planning and Partnerships, National Association of County and City Health Officials, PATCH, which is the Planned Approach to Community Health, and also the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, which we'll be using and seeing a lot of during this class. In the community assessment process, there is data collection, which consists of data gathering and data generation. Then comes data analysis or appraisal, where you can judge both the value of the data collected and also the actual meaning of the data you have. Also, the nurse must also consider some issues related to the assessment. Gaining entry or acceptance into the community is one thing. Role negotiation and confidentiality are two others. Developing relationships within the community will help with acceptance. This link will bring you to a process for helping developing a strategy to improve the health of your community. You can use this website to help you with your assessment. Okay, when looking at this slide, what do you see? Well, what you need to do when you're making your assessment and you're gathering your data and you're doing your analysis is you want to look at the big picture. Just like when you're caring for your patients, you always want to look at the big picture. Remember, do not make snap judgments. Make sure you see the whole representation of the community and not just a snippet of it. When you look at this side, you can see that there are many components to doing a community assessment. And so we put this actually in a wheel. You can see all the components of the community that need to be included in your assessment. Environmental issues, education system, transportation, government, public safety, communication, economy, and also recreation. Later in one of the other PowerPoints, we'll actually go through the intervention wheel in more detail. In this slide, you'll see that these are examples of methods of generating and collecting data. So you want to use people that live in the community. You want to actually observe what's going on, and you'll be doing that when you do your windshield survey. You can use statistical data and health records, and you can get those on websites online, and there will be links within the classroom that will help you with that. You can also construct a survey if that's what you have time to do. You can get some of the community together and do a focus group, or you can attend a community forum if that'll help in your data collection. So as a part of planning for community help, what you need to do is do your assessment, and then you're going to analyze the community health problems. When you do all of these things, analyze, prioritize, establish goals, identify interventions, and plan evaluation, what does that sound like to you? Yes, you are correct. It is the nursing process. The nursing process for a community is not difficult, and it will consist of 3 parts. Risk of. So it could be a specific problem or a health risk in the community. Among. You want to specify the specific group or the population that is affected by the problem, and you need to have a related to. And that would be related to the strengths or weaknesses that influence the specific problem or health risk in the community. For instance, risk of unplanned pregnancies among adolescent females in River City, age 13 to 16, related to lack of knowledge about and access to contraceptives, peer pressure for early sexual intercourse, and sexual abuse. That contains all 3 parts of what I just said. When implementing something new, you will see that it does not always occur all at once. Sometimes it's a diffusion of innovation process by which innovation is communicated through certain channels over time among the members of a social system. Social structure affects adoption. The opinions of leadership will affect it, their ability to influence others or their attitudes and behaviors. Whether somebody has earned social status will cause them to have more control over the people within the group. Characteristics of innovation that affect the rate of acceptance by the community are relative advantage, and this is better than previous ideas. Compatibility is what's going to be developed. Is it consistent with the values, past experience, and needs of the group? How complex it is. Is it difficult to understand? Have they tried it out? Have they practiced it to see if it's actually going to work? Observability. Is it visible to others? Look at the graph in this slide. The innovators are the ones who come up with the ideas, the smallest group. The early adopters are just that. They are the ones that will take the idea and run with it. These are the people who will adopt the idea easily. The early majority are a large percentage of the people that are ready to adopt the new idea after they've taken the time to think it through. These are the people that have to sleep on it. The late majority are the ones that will go along with the change only after more than half of the people within the group decide that the innovation will be adopted. They are suspicious of change and focus on the old ways. Communication channels used will be the ones that provide the most information to the largest number of the population, whether they use written media, social media, or the news. This also influences how fast something new is adopted. The planning phase is an ongoing process from beginning of planning until the program ends. It's during this time that those involved will use to make judgments about improving, managing, or continuing the program. You're assessing whether objectives are met or activities are completed to include a formative and summative evaluation. A formative evaluation is the ongoing evaluation, and the summative evaluation is what occurs at the end and evaluates the results of the program. Doesn't this sound like the nursing process, what you've been using or what you will have learned in school throughout your nursing education? Okay, so if you have any questions and you don't understand any part of this PowerPoint, you can certainly email your instructor to get more clarification. Thank you.